Welcome to another episode of Fun with Flags. It's such a pleasure to bring yet another exciting video to you. Today's video will be featuring one of the most expensive countries in the world, which is United Arab Emirates. Well, let's dive in and explore.
This itinerary here shows you what we are going to focus for this video, which are namely the significance of the UAE flag, creation of the UAE flag, what makes UAE an exceptional country, all you need to know of UAE, and finally famous places in UAE. Sit back and enjoy the various segments of the video. Let's move to our first segment, which is exploring the significance of the UAE flag. The flag consists of four colors known as Pan-Arab colors, which are green, white, black and finally red. Together, the colors represent the unity of the Arabs. The color red represents hardiness, bravery, strength and courage, where the vertical red band also means that it binds the togetherness of the people. Green represents hope, joy, optimism and love, as well as the nation's astounding growth. White represents peace and honesty, since white is depicted as a pure color. Lastly, black represents the country's ability to withstand against enemies as well as the strength of the mind. Let's move on to our second segment, which is the creation of the UAE flag. Well, a competition was organized in need of designing the UAE flag, and just in time an Emirati teenager from Abu Dhabi then stepped in, who heard about the competition for the best design of the flag. Al-Mu'ayna intended the four colors to reflect the Arabian unity, the theme of which appears in the two stanzas of an Arabic poem by Safi-ul-Din al-Holy, who described deeds of benevolence, goodness and kindness. Abdullah al-Mu'ayna did not know his design was selected till he went to the palace himself to get a sneak peek at the raising of the flag in 1971. He then received the proper recognition and became a UAE ambassador to various foreign countries. The prize money received by him was actually 4,000 riyals. Let's move on to what makes UAE an exceptional country. Well, it's actually a lot of factors to be considered, but I will say it. The Burj Khalifa, 90% of the population in UAE that are expatriates, recognition of women's right, existence, respect and tolerance of different cultures and religions, its ties to culture and tradition despite its rapid modernization, and finally the Dubai Mall, that overall make up UAE an exceptional and extraordinary country. Let's move on to the next segment of all you need to know of UAE. First of all, the capital of UAE is Abu Dhabi, but the largest city, as we all know, is Dubai. UAE overall has a population of over 9.6 million people. UAE is located in the Middle East, sharing boundaries with Oman, Saudi Arabia and Qatar. While the capital city is Abu Dhabi, the functional and more renowned city would be Dubai. The government of UAE is of a federal, presidential, and elected monarch, consisting of a total of 7 monarchies, and the head of Abu Dhabi is the president of UAE, while the prime minister of UAE is the head of Dubai. Furthermore, UAE is a member of the United Nations, the OPEC, World Trade Organization and the Islamic Conference. UAE also has the 6th biggest oil reserve in the world, and the main spoken language here is Arabic. The name of the president and prime minister respectively are Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan and Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. Following the segment on all you need to know of UAE, we will be focusing on 3 pillars of importance that contribute to UAE's growth, which are science and technology, culture and lastly economy. Let's move to the first pillar of importance, which is science and technology.
Our first focus are the key sectors in science and technology. UAE currently takes interest in space science and technology, information and communication technology and nuclear science and technology. Space science and technology is vital to UAE as UAE seeks to explore celestial bodies, develop satellite communications technology and deploy technology in terrestrial applications, raising the need for remote sensing through satellites such as land use planning and resource mapping. One example is the Emirates lunar mission that is to be embarked on 2024. Information and communication technology is another major sector that is vital to UAE as it helps UAE to boost the ICT sector, as it transforms to become a digitalized haven for its people. Nuclear science and technology is also vital to UAE as UAE is working on delivering safe, clean and efficient nuclear energy. Furthermore, nuclear reactors are destined to become UAE's second most source of energy right after natural gas, boosting the economy and UAE's electricity production by 25%. Our next focus is the fifth generation of network, also known as 5G. The 5G technology is a milestone towards major aims such as creating a smart city, AI and crafting big data. 5G is an evolution to its predecessor 4G and provides a faster, reliable experience with a theoretical speed of 20 gigabits per second while 4G is 1 Gbps. In UAE, TDRA set a roadmap to achieve 5G deployment early, and in the year 2019, UAE achieved first place among Arab countries to globally launch and deploy 5G network, according to the Connectivity Index by Carphone Warehouse. UAE is also ranked as the most connected country, due to its advancements in mobility infrastructure, global communication and finally social communication.
Last but not least, our next focus is quantum computing. To enable innovation and a sustainable knowledge-based economy, UAE invests in quantum computing to solve world's toughest challenges. If you did not know, quantum computing are machines that use quantum physical phenomenon to produce computational speed-ups beyond the capacity of normal PCs. Examples of challenges solved would be quantum computing research at Khalifa University as well as Dewa Quantum Computing Training Program. Furthermore, Dewa Computing Program aimed to develop new solutions for production, transmission and distribution of energy and water as well as conservation efforts. Let's move to the second pillar of importance, which is culture. Culture in this case consists of three major factors, which are sports, arts and music, but in this case I am going to talk about art, food and finally sports and recreation. Art is a major contribution to the UAE growth as it consists of music, dance, poetry, weaving, embroidery together with famous paintings and literature. Music and dance were widely practiced in the olden days, and one form of such would be ayala, known as stick dance. If you did not know, al-Wahhabiyya is one of the oldest forms of Ras al-Khaimah. Poetry in UAE involves Targhuda and Nabati poetry. Do you know that crafts such as pottery, weaving and embroidery have been part of the UAE culture since the Paleolithic age, which dates to 6000 BC to 3500 BC? Also, paintings and literature have been prominent across art galleries, art districts and museums of Sharjah, Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Ever since, UAE has since become an international hub for promoting art and culture. Food is also a vital contribution to UAE's prominent culture. Prior to harsh climatic conditions, agricultural produce was limited. Emirates relied on animal products, and the dishes have a hint of Arabian, Indian, Iranian, Mediterranean, and Turkish. Breads and pancakes are popular in UAE, where one example is the Arabic bread khamir. Another example would be the Emirati pancake called shabab. Guests and visitors to UAE are usually welcomed with coffee and dates, where local coffee comes with blended cardamom and saffron. Do you know that dates come from flourishing oases and are a key source to nutrition, especially during the season of Ramadan? Fish, meat, rice and spice are also vital to UAE, where Emirates learnt how to store fish by drying it, which helps while living in desert. And in the desert, the meat that Emirates had most access to would be camel milk and meat. Foreign trade led to import of spices and rice. An example of such spices imported are cinnamon, saffron, turmeric. Sports and recreation is what the UAE spend a lot of money on, trying to upgrade infrastructure and facilities. Since the formation of UAE in 1971, attention has been given to growth, welfare and institutionalization in the sports sector, and UAE is keen to providing the necessary support for sports in the country through construction of modern sports facilities such as football stadiums, racing tracks, golf courses to serve both beginners and professionals. Traditional sports of UAE include falconry and racing horses, camels, salukis, and dows, where falconry refers to the annual hunting season of falcon birds that are tested for being healthy before being let into the wild. Equestrian sports in UAE are endurance, show jumping, eventing, dressage, and racing. Do you know that camel racing was meant to mark important social occasions such as wedding ceremonies and community festivals where the Sudanese and interbred camels are used? Modern sports in UAE include football, motor racing, rugby and many more, and given UAE hosts several major international tournaments, it provides the best of facilities in terms of cricket and football stadiums and even a circuit for F1 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Finally, let's move on to the third pillar of importance to UAE, which would be economy. Our first focus is circular economy. The UAE Circular Economy and UAE Cabinet approved the establishment of the UAE Circular Economy Council, where the council aimed to draft the mechanism of implementing the strategy in coordination with relevant authorities. It also aimed to promote partnership between public and private sectors and advanced scientific research areas, as well as suggest general foundations of sectoral plans and projects, as well as harmonize federal and local strategies within policy requirements. Furthermore, it aimed to encourage participation of private sectors in projects and initiatives and also approve performance indicators related to the strategy's adoption. The next focus would be digital economy. UAE takes concrete steps to establish a strong digital economy through digital transformation. Do you know that UAE is considered one of the most advanced countries in the field of technology and adoption of modern technologies, with the highest smartphone penetration rates? If you did not know, digital economy refers to the digitalization of economy ranging from agriculture to warehousing. It can also be defined as an economic activity that connects billions of people, businesses, devices, and data. The backbone of the digital economy is the hyperconnectivity, also known as interconnectedness, among people, organizations and machines that result from internet and technology. Currently, UAE wants to enhance its digital economy by adopting the UAE strategy for Fourth Industrial Revolution to strengthen economic security in financial transactions and services. Another example would be the blockchain strategy that aimed to capitalize on blockchain technology to transform government transactions into blockchain platform. In this way, digital economy will help to boost UAE's GDP rate as well as grow its e-commerce chain and improve IT infrastructure and increased use of smartphones. Finally, our focus will be features of UAE's solid economy. Well, oil fluctuations and global economic recession did hit UAE, but it was strong enough to counter these challenges. On top of that, UAE enjoys a strategic location between Asia, Europe, and Africa, where UAE is used as a hub for trading and a launching platform for South Asia. UAE also has strong financial reserves and a durable banking sector, together with having a large sovereign fund. The government of UAE spends on infrastructure to receive a major injection of capital to become a wealthy country. Moreover, UAE possesses a policy of economic diversification that has led into development of tourism, air transport, trade and many more, and has many free zones to offer economic incentives such as exemption from corporate taxes and full foreign ownership. On top of all this, UAE also has an enhanced foreign direct investment (FDI), where it ranks first among Middle East and African region. Let's move on to knowing some cold hard facts. The first fact is that the currency used in UAE is known as UAE dirham. The second fact is that the GDP of UAE in the year 2020 was $647.650 billion. Finally, the third fact is that the UTC time of UAE is GMT plus 4 o'clock. Interesting facts, isn't it? We have come to the last segment, which is knowing about famous places in UAE, and to top it up I have 5 interesting places to show you. First up is Burj Khalifa. To briefly describe, Burj Khalifa is one of UAE's most famous buildings and the soaring landmark of Dubai. There is an observation deck at the top that offers you a stunning panoramic view across Dubai that is certainly a marvel to both modern engineering and an awesome architectural feat. Fun facts about this place would be that Burj Khalifa is the world's tallest building, standing at 828 meters high, and if you did not know, it has the title of the tallest freestanding structure in the world and also having the longest elevator in the world. Next up is the Dubai Frame. To briefly describe, being UAE's latest cultural landmark, the Dubai Frame is an iconic structure that frames impressive views of old and new Dubai together, serving as a metaphorical bridge connecting the Emirates' rich past with its magnificent present. Dubai Frame also celebrates the story of Dubai from its early establishment to its ambitious plans for future development. Fun facts about this place would be that the Dubai Frame measures 150 meters high and 95 meters wide. Also, it's over 9,900 cubic meters of reinforced concrete, 2,000 tons of steel and 2,900 square meters of laminated glass were used in its construction. More than 15,000 square meters of gold-colored stainless steel covers Dubai Frame, which incorporates a ring design inspired by the Expo 2020 Dubai logo. Dubai Frame's rectangular design was inspired by the golden ratio of 1.618, which many architects and artists believe forms an ideal structural balance. The elevator to the sky deck carries visitors 48 floors in 75 seconds. Next up would be Zoom Zoom, Ferrari World. To briefly describe, Ferrari World is an indoor theme park located on Yas Island of Abu Dhabi. It is the world's first Ferrari-themed park and also has a popular attraction called the Formula Rossa. It also celebrates the passionate spirit of the legendary racing marque. Being home to many high-adrenaline rides featuring the world's fastest roller coaster, family-friendly attractions as well as state-of-the-art attractions. It certainly embodies the treasure of racing memorabilia. Fun facts about this place would be that it is the first theme park dedicated to the famous and legendary Italian marque. The Formula Rossa is able to reach up to 150 miles per hour along a 2.4 km track. Not just that, in this haven, you can even ride a Ferrari car for real accompanied by an expert as long as you are above 21 years old. Next up would be Rub Alkhali. To briefly describe, being known as the Great Sandy Desert, Rub Alkhali is the largest sand desert in the world and has vast oil reserves and natural gas beneath the sands. It is said that the dunes in this desert are so high that it is impossible for humans to travel here. Fun facts about this place would be that it is the largest contiguous sand desert in the world. Also, it contains dunes able to reach 250 meters and has the harshest climate in the world with annual rainfall less than 3 centimeters and temperatures that reach 50 degrees Celsius. It also possesses a dangerous feature called the sabkas that are known as plains between massive dunes. Last but not least would be the Dubai Museum. To briefly describe, Dubai Museum is situated in the south of Dubai Creek at the Al Souq Al Kabir area. This place features an exciting array of old history of Dubai as well as acquaint visitors with the different environments of urban and rural lives in Dubai. Get to also view rare authentic monuments, original samples, drawings, and video media scattered across the different wings of the museum. Fun facts about this place would be that this museum is the oldest of its kind and is house to the Al-Fahidi Fort, a fine illustration of ancient desert forts in Middle East. Also, this fort was built in 1987 as a barricade to protect the region from sea pirates and tribes. Also, this museum has life-sized dioramas that provide a comprehensive intro to traditional lifestyle of Dubai through ancient Arab house, date farms, souks. That marks the end of my video. Thank you for watching my video once again. Do like my video and hit that subscribe button on my channel. Thank you.